Hey guys, okay, so we are making sure that everything is gonna work and you can hear us and see everything as I do this entirely full setup. The point of our process today, come with me Jenna, is we are going to set up actually 2 whole sets. This is my test run because we're doing a big studio next week and I wanna make sure that I have everything for the 2 full sets and we don't get there and realize that we forgot something because it's offsite. And number 2, I am training my new team member, Julia. She's been doing editing for you guys and she's been taking pictures for me for a couple years, but I'm setting her up to know how to set everything up. And then we also have Jenna on the camera. I'm gonna make you say hi, Jenna. Jenna.
Hey.
Jenna's our intern and she is here to follow me around all day. As I said, we're gonna set up 2 sets. So I'm gonna talk through one set and Julia's gonna set up the other one so that she can train. We're also going to bypass a couple things. First off, we are gonna bypass covering the mirrors. So I use white parchment paper, cover the mirrors. It doesn't affect the pictures every single time, but as far as I'm concerned, eliminating the possibility of error or the possibility of light bounce just makes things easier, and that way you know that's not the problem if something becomes an issue later. One thing we did happen to do is cover our windows. So we have 2 windows in this room, covered them with our mats. Again, just making everything as neutral as possible in the room. The very first thing we are always going to do is set up our backdrop. But before we do that, I want you to come look at all my equipment. I bring it all in, I lay it all out. So this is everything that we need for one setup, and then there's another set over there. They are different. I have purchased over the years many different sets of lights. So I'm gonna show you different things as we go. Depending on which set you have, I can give you some more information. So the things we have in our pile are our light kits, our tripod stands, our backdrop, our extension cords, my camera, my batteries, lights, and my flooring. And we're gonna talk about this floor a lot today because that's new and I wanna show people how it works. I guess let's get started on backdrop. So Julia, you're gonna get started too. I have a new thing completely, so I've never opened this. This will be fun. We're starting with, this is the kind that apparently is like the size of 2 next to each other. Julia is gonna be setting up 2 tripod sets. So each one is about 10 to 12 feet wide, and that allows you to have the 24-foot wide backdrop. Apparently this one connects together, so it's all in one. So yes, Julia, it's those 2 bags with the yellow things, and you're gonna open those. And you should have clamps in there, Julia. So storage is something that has evolved over the years for me. I used to have a bin that kept all of the clamps and batteries and remotes and all the things in it. But I've come to realize it's actually easier to just keep the things together that you need together. So I use the clamps on that, so the clamps go in that bag with those things. I'm gonna be testing a new clamp system on this set, so you'll see both ways. But typically I use the clamps to clamp the white backdrop across the poles. So we're gonna open up one tripod together because I have come to also realize that this is not as intuitive as you would think. Your tripod looks like this when it comes out of the thing. I'll do it with you over here, we'll come together. Okay. So before you start unspinning all of the knobs, because I've had people completely spin them off into your hand, and I'm like, that's not how they work. So these are just to tighten the equipment. So they just need to be a little bit loose, and then they need to be a little bit tight. They don't need to be super tight, and they don't need to come all the way off. A little bit loose, a little bit tight. So you're gonna whatever is the lowest on the bottom. So if you have one on the bottom here, you actually wanna tighten that all the way because that is what's keeping the legs on the middle post. Mine doesn't even have one, it's just fixed, so you don't have to worry about that one. Then at this one at the top of the neck, you're gonna just loosen it a little bit. I usually prop it on my leg and pull the legs out. Yep, some are tighter than others, some could use some WD-40, some are easy. Now, how far do you go? So there's a couple different ways. If you pull it all the way up, yours might look really skinny like that. If you were in a tight space, you could do it like this where it's super skinny at the bottom, but because we're working with kids and we have enough space, I like to make the base as wide as possible, which means this part is flat. That's like the widest triangle you can make. So that's what I do. So over here, same thing, I'm gonna make it so that the little tripod-y thing is straight. And then tighten that one just enough so that it doesn't go anywhere. Okay. And that's all we're gonna do right now. So you're gonna do that to all 4 of your bases, and I only have 2. So open your 4 up, and then you're going to put them across the back of your space, okay? It also helps if you do that flat thing to make them all the same height, because if one of them, it has a skinnier base than the others, then it'll be a different height than the others. And see how that bottom, show. See how this bottom part is going to do in this? Mm-hmm. That's because this isn't tight. So pull that up and then tighten that, and that'll do it. Yep. You want to kind of protect your knobs, because once a knob is broken, you're never going back. You have to just buy a new one. While she's doing that, I am going to connect these guys. I'm going to follow the directions, open, close position. Let's see how Julia's doing over here. So we have 4 on this side because each of these poles is only 10, 11 feet long. So we're going to put all 4 of them across here and spread them way out. So what I'm doing now, if you just notice, is I'm turning them so that they're all the same. I have them all lined up with the 2 feet across the back and 1 foot forward. It keeps a nice straight line. It'll help when we get into pulling our backdrop tight to make them all the same. If you have lines on your Marley or something that you can line everything up with, that helps too. So then Julia's set. So if you guys have this set, this is called Impact. You work on that one, I'm gonna do this one. This one you connect by putting the little knob into this hole. There's a little bit of a nuance to this, so come to me, Jenna. And Julia, pay attention to this. So when the white backdrop hangs over here, if you want to help eliminate wrinkles, right, you want to make sure that this knob isn't hanging in the front, and neither is this knob, because when those knobs are hanging in the front, it hangs over that and it just causes more wrinkles. So this goes in, this goes to the side. Oh my gosh, undo. See, this goes to the side, this goes in on the front, and this goes down on the bottom. Okay, so again, nuance, but you're doing this far enough so that that goes in. So this unscrews so that this gold piece, Jenna, can you see that? Yeah, all of it needs to be tight. So that needs to go out. Why is that not going in? It is. So we tighten this one, and then unscrew this one until this one pops in and clicks. There we go. So it pushes all the way to there, and then tighten it down. Okay, and so you want your knobs side and down, not up in the way, if that makes sense. And it's only annoying because you won't realize it until later, and then you'll take everything down and fix it. So. Now, if you have 2 sets, it's important that you try to get them as close together as possible, but still so that all the tripods have all 3 feet on the ground so that it's nice and stable, okay? So that's about as close as these guys can get. They're nice and level, so that when we hang the white backdrop, it's gonna be as swoopy free as possible, okay? So next, we're going to attach to your white backdrop. So Julia, that one's yours. I have a brand new one I'm gonna open just because I felt it was time so that you see both options. I want you to see that this is the one I've used for probably 10 years. It has stains on it, it has a hole in it, it has wrinkles on it, and it doesn't matter. And it has like tape stuck to it in places. It will not matter when we're taking pictures because the way we overexpose the background, it's just blowing it out full white anyway. But I needed a new one because it really was just kind of getting gross to carry around and embarrassing. So we have a new one for one of the rooms this year. But we're gonna set that one up. So you're gonna lay it out long ways, all the way along your backdrop. I'm gonna lay this one. Typically, like I said, we use clamps and we're gonna clamp it on there. But I wanted to try something new. So we're gonna see how it works in a minute. And actually, I might try my new things on your set, Julia, then. Okay. And we might clamp these. So you switch with me for a second, use those clamps and hang it there. And I'm gonna try these guys. I saw on another photography site these little curtain rings, like shower rings, and I'm gonna see how they work. But step one would have been to put them on before I put these on here. Julia, if you want to just start clamping, I would overlap it over the top by like 6 inches or a foot. Yeah, and you want to clamp it onto the actual pole, not like around the pole, so like the clamp part. The backdrop, honestly, is probably the longest part. It's the part where you could use the most help. You might need an extra set of hands because then you're gonna have to straighten out the white sheet, and it's easy to have another set of eyes looking at it so you don't have to get up and down a million times and see how it looks. So I put a bunch of these clips on this pole. I'm gonna put it back on here, and then I'm gonna clip the white to it. See if we like this better. But basically Julia's doing that. Okay, so now Julia, what you're gonna do is you're gonna extend. So Jenna, go around to the back where you can see the back of her tripods. And you're going to extend starting with, and this is the counterintuitive thing, starting with the top. So the highest knob on the tripod, you're gonna loosen it a little bit and then extend it a little bit because you can't go all the way up because you're gonna start pulling the other end. Okay, so you go up like, I don't know, a foot or so, and then go to the other side and go back and forth until you've extended the top all the way up. So probably 2 times on the top post. This is usually physics. So because if one end is up higher, it like pinches a little bit. Okay. And so then you have to like make them the same level and then see? Okay, so that's the top one, and now you can go up a little past that one, and then you tighten it.
Great.
And then you do that one again until the top one is fully extended, and then you do the next one down. And then when you get to the point where you feel like it's pretty high, you're paying attention to that bottom. Like as far as you put that other side, Julia, I think it's about high enough. Okay. I like to leave a little bit of curvature at the bottom. Like I don't want the floor going completely 90 degrees to the bottom of the fabric because I like to pull it out and attach it. So that's pretty good, except it will bother you all day if it's not straight. So stand back and look at it and make sure that the top is straight. So now, before you get much further, this is the back and forth of like how many swoops are in my backdrop, right? So it's actually not too bad, but typically you can deal with it just with the clamps themselves and like kind of playing with the way the clamp is tight on the fabric, and that's where you might need a chair. So see if you can get it a little bit straighter there at the top. So you could let a little bit of the fabric from the back come land on the floor, like so it hangs a little further down. So while she's doing that, trying out these new clips that I think I'm loving because it takes everything that she's dealing with right now completely out of the picture, because we can clip them nice and tight across the top and not have to worry about those swoops at all. So those of you who have been doing this for a couple years, you know the stress of the swoops, and you're welcome. And I'm just kind of arbitrarily placing these every so often, every few inches. So what I'll probably do, honestly, is mark the backdrop with little marks, like equidistant marks, so that I know exactly where to clip these, because I'm kind of doing it just fast for, this, but I want to make sure that you don't have to spend too much time on this in real life when we set up for real. So this allows me to pull it tight with no swoop on the top. But there is, because there's nothing holding this taut, which I have another trick for, which we're gonna do in a second. We're gonna do that in a second. All right, Julia, lovely, good work. Okay, so that is, we've got enough on the floor, so let me show you this. We're straight across the top. We have no swoops. This one a little bit, but I think we'll be okay. We have a little bit of fabric on the bottom because when we tape it to our floor, we're gonna pull it out a little bit, okay? So that there's a little bit of a graduation in this, not a stark 90-degree angle, because 90-degree angles will catch the light and that will be bad. We want it to swoop, okay? But no swoops up there, swoops down here. Okay, come back to here. So now when you have the two sets, which it sounds like we're always gonna have to have because that's not big enough, there's a little bit more of like as you raise it, because if I raise this one all the way up, it's gonna knock them over and it's a big mess. So same thing, Julia, start on that end and we're gonna do the top one first. I'm gonna go to the very end and you do that one. Top one goes up a little bit and don't worry about it sliding around for right now. We're gonna straighten that all out once it's up. Okay, so that's pretty good there. Now I'm gonna try this new secret weapon. More strappy clamps for the sides. Try those. So these guys, I'm literally just taking them out of the package for the first time ever, but it's a little clip and a bungee that I think you just wrap around so it can pull the sides tight. All right, so again, remember we didn't do this all the way the width of the classroom. So if you have a smaller room, like this room is 32 wide this way. So this can go all the way to 24. I believe that's how long this is. If your room isn't as big and you have to fold this back, just fold it, clamp it. So once you have your backdrop up, note it still is wrinkly and that's okay as long as the swoops, the reason why the swoops are bad is because swoops are deep enough to hold shadow. So when you pass light over it, you will still see it when the light hits the higher parts and not the valleys, okay? These little things, the light is gonna completely wash this out and it's totally fine. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up the floor, okay? Those of you who've been with me a long time know the whole training on the whiteboards. Yes, the whiteboards are still fantastic. If you have whiteboards and you want to keep using your whiteboards, they actually still probably might be my favorite if I didn't hate how heavy they were and how annoying they were to get out and set up, okay? As far as the look, I think they give a little bit more reflection than what I'm going to show you today, but we use these for our last round of photos. All of the ones that I posted in the help forum the other day, those were all on this white floor. And so they're fine, they're just not quite as reflective. So what this is, and the link we'll share as well, it's in the course now, is technically made to cover floor at an event like a wedding. So we bought it on Etsy and it is, you can have it decaled with like your monogram or happy wedding to whoever, and so that's what it was intended for. But it is high gloss vinyl. It is technically a giant sticker. So if you were to use this for your wedding, literally you peel the back off, you roll it out, you lay it on the floor, and then at the end of the night, after it gets all scuffed up and kind of beat up, you just literally peel it off and throw it away for a few $100. For your wedding, that's probably in your budget. I don't want to spend a few $100 every single picture week, so I'm salvaging it. And we are rolling it out and taping it down and not using the sticker part of it at all. But I do believe we could use part of it as a sticker if we needed like a repair section. Like if one part gets really beat up, we could cut a square section and just sticker it on top of the main piece, especially like midweek if things start to get icky, rather than rolling out a new whole piece. So what we're probably gonna do this time, since this stuff is already used, okay? What I'll probably do when we set up for real next week is I will use two of these along the back, and then we'll roll out a brand new sheet on the front where the kids are standing. Then we simply use the white duct tape, which we're not gonna do today because it saves some time, but I'm gonna show it to you. Don't forget, I get this one a lot, white duct tape, not white gaffer's tape. White gaffer's tape is matte, and so when the light hits it, it's going to absorb the light, and you're still gonna be able to see it. It's gonna be an off-white, kind of dirty line, right? This duct tape is shiny, so even though on here it does look a little bit of a different color, it's kind of off-white compared to the white, it will reflect the light and it will disappear for the most part in your pictures. So one long strip across there, and then another strip that's gonna connect. I will do that. Let's just connect it in a couple places, Julia. Pulling the backdrop out. So you do wanna connect this all the way across. I'm not gonna do it right now again, because for sake of time, but you will, connect all of it so that there's no lip. And see how by having that little extra bit of fabric on the bottom, it allows you to pull it, which gives us this nice curvature, which will help with editing later. So, like I said, you're gonna do this as a full strip so that it's completely covered. Because see where it's not taped, you can see that shadow? That shadow is what will show up in your pictures that you'll have to edit out later. But if you tape the whole line, like right here, it's a smooth transition and it will be reflective and it will completely disappear. That's what we want, okay? So yeah, Jenna, come get a good look at this floor. So we use this for a whole week, 180 company kids, so 1,000 million pictures. I don't even know if you can tell, like, it's not bad. There's a little divot right there. Up here, there's a couple little chunks missing. So that's why I was thinking we might try to do like a repair patch on it and use it as long as possible. But as you saw us carry it, this is a whole lot lighter than the whiteboards and a whole lot easier to transport if you're going somewhere else.